Poland, Ukraine, the Baltic republics, Belarus, and Moldova. Poland is bordered by the Baltic Sea, Lithuania, and Russia's Kaliningrad Oblast to the north, Belarus and Ukraine to the east, Slovakia and the Czech Republic to the south, and Germany to the west. The center of Poland and parts of the north lie within the European plain. In the south lie parts of the Carpathian Mountains. The highest part of these is the Tatra Mountains along the southern border. Poland has one of the highest numbers of lakes in the world. In Europe, only Finland has a greater density of lakes. You can see the lake districts in the north of Poland on the map in your book. Many animals that have since died out in other parts of Europe still survive in Poland, such as the wisent in the ancient woodland of the Białowieża forest. The ancient woodland has never been cleared or disturbed much by people. The climate is mostly temperate throughout the country. The climate is oceanic in the north and west, and becomes gradually warmer and continental toward the south and east. Summers are generally warm and winters are cold. The climate in the northeast is affected by cold fronts that come from Scandinavia and Siberia. The largest city and capital of Poland is Warsaw. Since the fall of communism, Poland left behind its old state-directed economy and transitioned to a market economy in which businesses are privately owned and run. When the communists controlled Poland, there was a strong emphasis on heavy industry, and that focus remains alive today. Poland produces cars, buses, helicopters, trains, and heavy military equipment, including tanks and ships. Before the communists industrialized the Polish economy, it was largely agrarian. Though Poland continues to be one of Europe's leading agricultural producers, with a wide variety of crops and dairy and meat production, it is unable to meet the food demands of its large population. Poland's economy is still considered to be underdevelopment. Today, Poland is mostly inhabited by ethnic Poles, with many diverse regional ethnic subgroups. Polish cuisine has evolved over the centuries to become highly eclectic due to Poland's history. Polish cuisine shares many similarities with other Central European cuisines, especially German and Austrian, as well as Jewish, French, Italian, and Turkish culinary traditions. There is a video in your book that is 25 minutes long, so just pay attention. It's not a requirement, but it is helpful if you would like to learn. It is called Poland Rediscovered, Krakow, Auschwitz, and Warsaw. Ukraine. With the largest physical area in Europe, Ukraine is slightly larger than France. Its population in 2010 was approximately 46 million, and 77% of the population is ethnically Ukrainian, and 17% is Russian. Most of the population live in the industrial regions of the southeast or eastern parts of the country. Though the official language is Ukrainian, many Ukrainians still speak Russian. As is the case with neighboring states, the Eastern Orthodox Church dominates the religious and cultural reflections of the arts, literature, and architecture. Christian themes are often reflected in the paintings, books, and performances. The demographic follows a pattern of industrialization with smaller family sizes, but continues to have a higher death rate than most European countries. The country is now losing about 150,000 people per year. The low birth rates are similar to those of Russia and Southern Europe. Poor health and childhood poverty in Ukraine are two of the main issues confirmed by the United Nations. In 2010, Ukraine had a negative population rate of negative 0.62%. Fertility rates have been in decline throughout Europe over the past few decades. The average fertility rate in Ukraine is 1.1, one of the world's lowest. In Europe as a whole, the average is about 1.3. The causes for some of these trends can be attributed to alcoholism, poor diets, smoking, and the lack of medical care. The average life expectancy for an adult male in Ukraine is about 62 years. In comparison, the average life expectancy for men in France is about 78 years. Of the former Soviet Union republics, excluding Russia, Ukraine was far and away the most important economic component, producing about 4 times the output of the next ranking Soviet republic. Its fertile black soil generated more than one-fourth of the overall Soviet agricultural output, and its farms provided substantial quantities of meat, milk, grain, and vegetables to other republics. As much as two-thirds of the country's surface land consists of the so-called black earth, a resource that has made Ukraine one of the most fertile regions in the world and well known as a breadbasket. Likewise, its diversified, heavy industry supplied steel pipes and raw materials. Starting that sentence over, I apologize. Likewise, its diversified heavy industry supplied steel pipes and raw materials to Russia's oil and mining industry. Ukraine's political relationship with Russia has been complicated since the dissolution of the Soviet Union, but Russia still supplies enormous amounts of natural gas and oil to fuel the economy, and Russia's markets are still highly integrated with those of Ukraine. Though Ukraine has transitioned from a Soviet republic to a fully independent country, divisive centrifugal forces have made Ukraine's path to free elections and democracy elected leaders difficult. The country has held political elections, but they have been challenged or tainted with corruption and accusations of fraud. Today, the country has a democratically elected government and is working toward improving its economy and creating stability for its people. The Baltic Republics. The small Baltic states of Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania transitioned away from their old Soviet connections. After independence, they were quick to look toward Western Europe for trade and development. Most Eastern European countries followed this pattern. Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania received their independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. Russia withdrew its troops from the region in 1994. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, and the EU welcomed them as members in 2004. They have transitioned to market economies with democratic governments. The people of Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania rapidly expanded their economic conditions after independence, but have been hard hit by the downturn in global marketplace in 2008. The majority of people in Latvia and Lithuania are Baltic people, and the majority in Estonia are Finnic. Estonia has numerous fens and bogs. Forest land covers 50% of Estonia. Forests cover over half of Estonia and Latvia. Lithuania has numerous lakes and wetlands, with 33% of terrain covered by forest. Many species extinct in most of the European countries can still be found in the Baltic states. Historically, the cuisine of the Baltic states has been heavily dependent on seasons and simple peasant food. Lithuanian cuisine features the products suited to the cool and moist northern climate of Lithuania. Barley, potatoes, rye, beets, greens, berries, and mushrooms are locally grown, and dairy products are one of its specialties. Fish dishes are very popular in the coastal region. Latvian food is generally quite fatty and uses few spices. It also uses a lot of milk products, such as cottage cheese, sour cream, and sour milk, and different kinds of cheeses. The most typical foods in Estonia are black bread, pork, potatoes, and dairy products. Traditionally, in summer and spring, Estonians like to eat everything fresh: berries, herbs, vegetables, and everything else that comes straight from the garden. Belarus. In 1991, independence came to the former Soviet Republic of Belarus, but Belarus took a different path from most of the other Eastern Bloc countries, in that Belarus did not distance itself from its Russian connection. Belarus has consequently experienced authoritarian governments well into the 21st century. In this case, Russia and Belarus created a stronger relationship by signing agreements to increase economic integration. Difficulties have hindered the implementation of many of these policies. For one thing, the government of Belarus has been slow to move toward democratic reforms. In fact, the president has taken on greater authoritarian power. Some of the personal freedoms that have been granted in other European countries, freedoms of the press, free speech, and the right to peaceably assemble, are still restricted in Belarus. As of 2010, Belarus, Ukraine, and Moldova have not been admitted into the EU. Belarus has indicated that it might join with the Russian Republic, and it has not even applied for entry into the EU. Belarus is landlocked, relatively flat, and contains large tracts of marshy land. About 40% of Belarus is covered by forests. Moldova. Due to its strategic location on a route between Asia and Europe, the territory of modern Moldova experienced many invasions in late antiquity and the early Middle Ages. Moldova has a turbulent history and declared its independence in 1991. The poor agrarian economy of the small landlocked country of Moldova provides few opportunities or advantages to grow its economy and provide a stronger future for its people. As a result, young people earning an education or technical skills immigrate to other countries for opportunities or employment.